So just on the iPhone platform itself, there's a whole
new marketplace
of brands waiting to happen and get Draper money and take off.
Yeah.
So
make it different enough. Make it something that the iPhone's never been used for. Yeah, and then that's something that we might consider.
It was interesting. I just had dinner in Tahoe with a guy who worked as the head of the iPhone group for several years, and was known as being the father of the iPod. That was his idea, so he says. And anyway, he was just talking about what even Apple.
His name was Steve Jobs.
Yeah, no, it's not Steve.
Success has many fathers, a failure has an orphan.
Just shows you that one man doesn't necessarily think of all the good ideas, although we all love Steve. But what he was saying is even Steve is really a PC generation guy. He is the father of the PC generation, and even he, when you look at the stages of the iPhone, had to kind of be dragged, kicking and pushing to open up the iPhone to new apps. Okay? So, I mean, think about it. The most fun that you have on your iPhone today is finding cool new apps that radically, change your life and make them better and make you find things quicker and entertain you and the whole thing. So I thought that was an interesting anecdote, but again, it plays back to this idea that there is a generational change here, and open is seems to be the operative word. Now, free is also in there somewhere, and for guys that want to make money, free is kind of a scary word. But viral marketing is free marketing, which is good because it means lower expenses. But are you guys worried about free and open hurting the top line at all?
Well, I think free is a great way of marketing your product. You have to get it past a certain point before you are a valuable commodity in general. In general, people don't really want to pay a lot more for those little iPhone games. They want to try them for a while and then spread them to their friends, and then when they get out there. And free really works if you interconnect, if it's more of a network kind of thing, where if I send it to you, you send it to your friends, they send it to their friends. That kind of thing works really well for something that's free. I mean, free works well in that way, that it's going to spread. Free for something that isn't going to spread, that people are just going to buy, is a lot tougher. I think that's a lot tougher. So I think to create viral marketing, you have to think in terms of it goes from you to your friends, from their friends to their friends to their friends to their friends, and it spreads with a geometric progression, and that's where free really matters.
Hotmail never generated. It had a great viral marketing. It was the first radically viral brand, but you never generated revenue. YouTube, but yet you sold to Microsoft for $400 million or whatever it was. YouTube, same thing. It's now, I think, the #1 site on the web, right? But still, there was really no revenues associated, yet they sold to Google for what, $1.3 billion. So, do you get excited about? Well, I know why, because the people overpaid. But
now. Okay, I would disagree. I think people underpaid for a couple of reasons. Think about Microsoft's marketing budget. It's, I don't know, would you know, hundreds of billions?
Well, it's not hundreds of billions because that's part of their revenue, but it's a lot.
50 billion.
Right, that's a lot.
It might be $50 billion. By buying Hotmail, they got one of the greatest marketing vehicles in the world for a simple $400 million. So it was like 1/100th of their marketing budget. And they got this incredible thing that reached now up to 500 million people. That was a huge steal. In fact, if you ask Bill Gates what was the best acquisition he ever did, it's Hotmail.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think Google's best acquisition was YouTube. And for a similar reason, when they paid $1.4 billion for it, they calculated that it was worth $14 billion in advertising revenue to Google. So not just the marketing, but how it moved up the scales, how it moved up the Google ranks, how people would pay more, they'd be online more, all that stuff. It ended up being worth $14 billion to Google. So it's interesting. You can build an enormous business that doesn't have any revenue, as long as there is a partner that you can do a deal with that can take advantage of what you've built.
You might have just saw where Twitter got funded at $250 million valuation. It has zero revenue. So it's free is alive and well.
And I got to bring up Skype because it ties into our Stanford thing here. Tim funded Skype, and then I don't know how many years ago, but at our Stanford Summit with STVP, we gave Skype Company of the Year, and Tim and Nicholas Zenstrom, the founder, beamed into Stanford at 8 o'clock in the morning from Estonia, right after a board meeting so that they could accept the award for the Company of the Year. And that was the first public showing of Skype video, which has basically changed most of our lives. And that was another company that sold for billions of dollars that had no revenue.